Welcome back to the Balancing Act podcast. I'm Andy Temte. On the Balancing Act, we talk to business leaders and industry experts to explore the balancing acts that we play in our professional lives and the events that put rocket boosters behind their career success. Today, we have Regina Siegel joining us. Regina is the Vice President of Organizational Development at TrustPoint here in La Crosse and comes to us with a wide variety of experiences, including the role of elementary school principal. So I'm a little frightened right now. Memories of my elementary school principal are flooding back. But I hear, the rumors are that you were fantastic as a principal. So we want to learn more about that. Regina and I are going to be talking about the intersection between finance and education. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Regina, before we get started, all of my guests get this question. Please tell us your story.
Yes, and I think you had said in 2 minutes or less, right? So the really quick version is before I was even conceived, I had amazing grandparents on my mom's side. They came from Czechoslovakia. They were not first generation, but hardworking farmers, a long line of farmers on my mom's side. If you could meet my mom, blonde hair, blue-eyed, sweetest lady to this day. People call her Smiling Maggie. Everything's always happy. Her real name's Margaret, but she was always, when I was in performances, she'd be in the front row smiling at all the kids, where my dad is more the realist and the idealist, and he might be in the, closer to the back, or maybe even tell me about it when you get home, how your concert was. So I had really neat parents, a diverse background. My mom, again, Caucasian. My biological father, African American. I do not have a relationship with him, don't know much about him. And then my mom remarried my stepdad when I was about 4. So my mother and father, for all intents and purposes, both look white. And so I grew up as the only person of color in my family. I have 3 siblings and myself. So just with that dynamic, if you can't see me, if you're listening on a podcast, I'm one of those beautiful black and brown girls. And I definitely am not blonde hair and blue eyes, and the older I become, the more I become comfortable with that. But certainly growing up in a neighborhood that was all white, in a church that was all white, everything that we did was in a Caucasian environment in a larger town in Racine, Wisconsin. That was a lot of growth. So I just share that so that as I answer each of these questions, I kind of come to them from the background of me, yes, Regina, the professional, and my bachelor's and master's and advanced certificates and all that kind of stuff, but also a woman who's still learning about herself, who's still growing, and who certainly experienced some challenges in terms of race alone, in addition to all of the things that people do growing up. But Grandma was valedictorian of her class, and every time we would visit the farm, it was about a 3-hour drive, we visited quite often, she wouldn't say, "Oh, you look so cute," like if I had the cutest outfits. She didn't care about that. She didn't care about looks. She didn't care. She wanted you to present yourself in a way that was good for your family. But she would say, "Gina," that's how I was known, "Gina, what are your grades?" "What? Why do you have an A- in calc? That's not acceptable. How are you going to change that? So the next time I see you, it's going to be straight A's." So Grandma did not play. And nice. You needed to know your stuff. And that those of you who might have a farm background know it's not an easy life. But it's an important one.
Where was the farm relative to Racine?
Yeah, so it's in the Green Bay area. All of my family.
Okay, so north.
Packers. But yes, in the Northeast. Yep.
Yeah, very cool. Mm-hmm. What's your rocket booster moment? If you had to put your fingers on just one event that just was a real accelerant, was it Grandma or was it something else?
Well, she put a booster under my butt a few times, that's for sure. But no, sweetest woman and so caring. I would say, boy, I didn't like that question when I saw it, because as an educator, we love words, right? So I was spinning my way to make your one direct question more indirect and inclusive of many things, but you're asking it directly, so I'm going to answer it directly. So my one acceleration moment was probably, in terms of my career, was probably when I was a new-ish teacher. I had been teaching in central Wisconsin, where I met my handsome husband. Is he over there? Yeah,
he's right over there.
The hunky sheriff of La Crosse County. You gotta love it. He's gonna hate that I said that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, he's gonna get teased for that.
He's smiling.
Yeah. To us, he's smiling on the outside. But I'll have a chat, I'm sure, later. But when I was teaching, so I was young, and I was loving teaching. I thought I was going to retire as a teacher, just like my mom did. And I had a school principal that came in to see me. And when I say young, I was new, a brand new baby teacher. I'd probably been teaching 2 or 3 years. And she came in and said, Gina, you're doing a really good job with teaching. You know, you've got whatever, 100 middle schoolers in a choral environment. You've got the behavior down. They've got good choral literature. They've got the music theory. But what's next for you? And I'm like, well, I'm going to teach. She said, I'm not going to accept that. We're going to have a path. So she was that first person to say, good enough isn't good enough.
Right.
And she led me in the path of administration, and I was not interested. I didn't want to be a principal. I didn't really like that job. Everyone loves teachers. Not everyone loves the principal, right? But she really pushed me to that next step, and was Diane Miller, that first accelerant in my career.
Yeah, the mentors in our lives, and their time with us can be fairly brief, actually, but so impactful. And they get that label mentor because of the depth of the impact that they make. So thank you for that. Let's explore your multifaceted career transition from the public sector into the private sector. What led you into organizational development from that long career in public education?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. So I was in education for about 22 years, teacher, principal, of the middle school. Now that's the scary one, right? I loved middle school teaching. I loved being a middle school principal, but it's just so funny, you know, every day is a new school with middle school and elementary principal. And then I ended my career in education as the director of pupil services for the school district of La Crosse. So I loved it, and I'm a sponge on the Clifton Strengths Assessment. One of my top 5 strengths is leader, and learner, and I'm definitely a learner. I just want to learn something all the time. So,
well, leaders are learners. So
thank you. Good point.
You actually didn't
You must
slip.
be a professor, aren't you? You've got those great little side comments, but that's so true. And so, as a learner, I was loving what I was doing. I never felt, if you talked to my husband, he would say, what hurts me most in terms of development is I'm a perfectionist. And so nothing was ever good enough. So when I was a teacher, I wasn't good enough. There was so much more I could do. As a principal, I wasn't reaching my goals as quickly as I would want them. Mind you, no one was saying that externally.
No, it's all in here.
I'm sure I had a few people who thought I could do much better. But for the most part, it was all me. Yeah. And after 22 years, I was really at the height of my career. People were calling me from Washington, D.C., from the state to help testify about things, to help write legislation. Like, this was great. I was loving what I was doing. And I happened to go to make a presentation to a private business in town, and fell in love with the company, the people of the company. I was at a staff meeting, fell in love with their quest for knowledge and for helping the public. And fast forward a week or two, and I was asked if I would be willing to consider joining that business. And at first I laughed. And if you would know our past CEO, Kent Handel, you would think he would be done with you then. And I can't believe that I actually got the job, because I was not prepared for that question. And so, so fast forward, and I really think that I'm still a learner. I know I'm a learner.
Oh, yeah.
And I really see the juxtaposition of the field of education and what I do now in private business really fitting together well. And really, I'm still educating, coaching, and learning. It's just with adults now, and instead of protecting the rights of children, I'm protecting the rights of perhaps elders in the community who are being abused or having difficult times. So they're very similar.
Excellent. Now, a lot of people get on a career track and they feel like they're stuck in that for life. I'm going to be a blank for forever. Well, what's the most challenging aspect of your career transition from public education into organizational development? And what was the most difficult, and then what was the easiest? Because a lot of people are out there going, I'm stuck, I want to do something else, but...
And I'm going to tell you, Andy, the decision was pretty quick. And I think my husband, who knows I overthink and have spreadsheets, like 12 spreadsheets for one decision, when I said, I think I would love to work at TrustPoint, he was like, what? We're not even going to have a big talk about this? So now when people say, you were so courageous to make that move, I'm like, geez, if someone would have told me then, I probably would have freaked out. So to me, it just felt right. The most difficult thing was going from the height of my career, when people were asking me for advice and calling me and flying me places to learn and offer insight, to being the newbie in a company where, frankly, I knew about what was done, but I by no means was an expert in the field. And TrustPoint is multifaceted, so everything from retirement planning services to investment management to trust management. And so going from knowing everything to knowing almost nothing, that was difficult for me.
Yeah.
That was difficult for me. And the easiest was probably realizing that people are people, and TrustPoint has some of the best, my colleagues, and I would say that for the schools I was in, and that people really do want to help. I do. I think many people are driven by that desire to help others. So the easiest part was just jumping on the bandwagon, doing my research, learning, growing, and joining with others for a common goal and common good.
That's awesome. Before we take a quick break, let's give prospective career changers a little bit of advice. After the break, we're going to talk more about education and finance, but let's run a little thought experiment. You've got a mid-career professional sitting right in front of you right now. What advice do you have for them if they're considering making a major career change?
I think what I would say, what I would say, let's say you're the mid-career person, is lean on the people whom you trust. Find those mentors. If you don't have mentors in your profession right now, go to people whom you trust and admire, some who know what you do, some who do not, and listen to them. And listen to the feedback and tell them what you're thinking about, and just be a great listener and trust others, but ultimately trust your mind. Do your research, do the spreadsheets, look for the data, and then follow your heart.
Thank you for that advice, Regina. We're going to take a really quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks.
Is flow missing from your team's workflow? Is accountability a challenge in your organization? Learn how smooth workflows enable accountability and unlock trust to drive long-term organizational success in my new book, The Balanced Business. It's available today at Amazon.com and wherever books are sold.
And we're back with Regina Siegel talking about the intersection between education and finance. It wouldn't be the Balancing Act podcast without discussing, well, the Balancing Act. So what's the most important balancing act that you've played that's contributed to your personal career success?
Thanks for asking that, Andy. I've thought of this a little bit as I've listened to your podcast series, which, by the way, has been really exciting to hear. I've learned a lot. You've had some amazing guests.
Thank you.
And I have to thank you. You don't toot your own horn. What you and your wife do for the community and giving back to our community here is pretty amazing. And so, thank you for that. Not to mention your musical prowess, too. But,
oh, shucks.
But for me, when I think of my personal and professional balancing act, I think I would take a little different twist on that, because my most difficult but most exciting piece of the balance is, yes, being the wife, mother, professional, all of those pieces, but balancing that with knowing your power and your presence in the community. I've had people come up to me when I was a principal, mothers, tears in their eyes. La Crosse, we have some diversity, but there's not, certainly there aren't a lot of people, especially when I started 23 years ago here, that look like me, brown and black folks who look like me. Mothers streaming, tears down their eyes, because they thought, oh my gosh, my child is going to be safe because there's a person of color in this school. That's monumental.
Yeah.
So knowing your power and your presence and the balancing act of being my authentic self, which I'm learning more about every day, and I hope we all are, and realizing that I'm a role model, and that's scary at times, but understanding that and knowing that the power in that, of bringing people together, of knowing that people will listen at all times. So just, what I can do for children and for communities, and just being one small person, but how giving back to others can be to have such a huge impact. So balancing my personal wants, needs, desires. My husband and I would love to be on the river 24/7 when the weather is nice. And actually, we just got off a cruise ship on a big ocean, but we love the water. So balancing that, what I like personally, with what I consider my duty and responsibility to our community and to the betterment of our community, and being that role model. And it's a tough balancing act, but one that I believe is very, very important.
So if what you just witnessed here was a master class in the balance between professionalism and vulnerability. Mm-hmm. If you want to see what vulnerability looks like in action, that was it. That balance between professionalism and vulnerability. We need more of that. Thank you very much. Regina, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show is that the wealth management industry and finance generally is populated by a bunch of guys that look like me.
Really?
Really big shock. White American males.
I married one. I love them.
I believe strongly, however, that to really make finance and investing accessible to broader audiences that need that, we need more advisors that don't look like me and look like and mirror the general population. How do we improve educational pathways into finance careers for folks who are not, quote unquote, traditional to that path?
That's a great question. I think the key is starting young. We have, in La Crosse, we've been really blessed with an amazing Boys and Girls Club system that has fingers all throughout the region, and I believe the executive director happens to be here, and we'll have Joan Parks.
The lights are really bright here.
Yes, a lot of their team is here. I was not paid to say this, even though the executive director was my next door neighbor 23 years ago, and now we're almost next door neighbors in different neighborhoods. Fast forward. Yeah. a French island. But no, but with the Boys and Girls Club, what I've learned as an educator, watching, as a board member, as someone who wants to give back, is the power of the young child's mind, and helping the children understand from a young age, just in little pieces. So many of our families, many of our children growing up maybe don't have, especially in the disadvantaged populations you referred to, don't have a mother or a father or a grandfather talking about, hey, there's a really neat career in finance where you get to talk to people. I really believe great financial advisors are great relationship experts. So they don't, you can find answers now to almost anything by looking it up online. It might not be correct and accurate, but where we really see the value, at least at TrustPoint, is the relationship, the one-on-one relationship we have with our clients and industry. So how are children supposed to even know what a relationship manager is, or know that as an attorney, maybe I don't like talking to a lot of people, but I love to read and do research. There's jobs where you can sit and research things all day and give your opinion on things and write. It's exciting for me. I'm a geek, but it's exciting. Look at the data and find analysis from it. I think our kids don't necessarily know the unlimited possibilities they have, from tech in finance to the one-on-one relationships, all of the things that happen. So I think get into not only high schools, but into the elementary schools, middle schools. Go to places like the Boys and Girls Club, where kids are just dying. They want to learn. Such an exciting program going on at the Boys and Girls Club with our life and career readiness. Jake, is that the right thing? Okay. Program and a new addition that's going to be built that the community is supporting. And start young. Let people know what the possibilities are, and don't assume people know anything. Find a college kid. Find out if there's a student at a college who could use a mentor, who's maybe looking for one. Take that risk. Make that call to a professor and say, hey, is there anything that I can do? Is there anything I can do to be of service? Because one person changed my life and the path of it, and all of us can do that.
So, looking directly into the camera, if you look like me and you're in finance and investments, please go and volunteer at the school of your choice. Go start talking. Take this advice. Start talking to younger folks in the community that don't look like you, or maybe they look like you, but pass on the message about this wonderful career, because it's not all about. It has mathematics and some of the scarier topics, but it's primarily a relationship management gig, and you can be very successful and spread the word. Now, another thought experiment, playing on your educational background. You have the superintendent of school system sitting right in front of you right now. What advice do you have for them to improve the financial literacy and acumen that we need in kids to be able to go into careers in finance?
Yeah, that's a fun one, because I think the easy, quick answer, I would say, is not just for finance, but make school relevant. We can no longer be just teachers who...
Absolutely.
Where learning is required, right? Yeah. Learning is an option from kids, so make it relevant, make it meaningful. And, I still remember my teachers saying, oh, this bus is going here. You're never going to be on a bus going here and need to find out the, formula for this, but we're just going to do it for class. And kids saying, well, can we have a story problem that's relevant? Like, that was back in the Stone Ages. So make school relevant so that kids are engaged and want to be at school. And then when it comes to finance, in the Cooley region, it's neat. Most of our school districts have finance as a required class, personal finance. Maybe it's even a requirement in the state of Wisconsin, since I've left the field of education, which would be great. But you have a captive audience, so don't make it fun, make it interesting, and listen to the students. The students, they want to know about, different kinds of cryptocurrency, or they want to know about all of these things. It's tough to even find a checkbook to fill out for the checkbook exercises, but there's a lot of neat ways on computers, fun stuff to do that are life lessons, because to me, personal finance, the earlier you can get those lessons and the importance of saving versus spending and the power of not being in debt, that's how our communities can thrive and grow. That's how you can take underserved populations and have them become community leaders with wealth, generational wealth, where you're now graduating from high school and college regularly and moving on and growing our businesses, and crime goes down, relationships go, neighbors are shaking hands and they know the people next to them because we're feeling success together as a community. So I have a dream that one day.
Experiential learning, making learning fun, making learning relevant, especially in the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, of which finance and economics is a derivative. So, Regina, we have these fun lightning round questions. The first is the time machine question. I put you in a little bitty time machine, send you back to an earlier version of yourself. What's the message and what's the earlier version of yourself?
So I'm going back to 4-year-old Gina, who I still remember this like it was yesterday. That was auditioning. So we're going to take out the fine arts school. I went to that for early school. But so I'm going to go to 8-year-old Gina, who's taking an exam to get into the gifted and talented school in town. I remember feeling the weight of the world. Oh my gosh, I'm going to let my parents down. What if I don't get in? All these people are going to be disappointed. And I remember I got to a question on the exam. And of course, IQ tests aren't meant for you to get all of the questions right. Eventually, you're going to not answer them right. I'm not a genius. I do not have a super high, anyway, I'm not a genius, so I'm going to get some questions wrong. And I remember seeing that question and thinking, oh my gosh, my life is ending. I've already failed this, and it's only like question 126 or whatever. You don't have to be perfect. Perfection was something I still struggle with. I still attain, and perfection halts progress. And sometimes knowing when it's okay. Most of the time, you don't have to have perfection, right? So that's what I would say, and I think that would have changed my life. I'd find more satisfaction and happiness.
To my students in the audience, we just talked about this, that perfection is the enemy of excellence in many cases. I liked what you just said, though, that perfection can prevent progress, all the spinning and trying to get that last bit done. So thank you for that. You're in learning, you're in development, leadership development, which learning is a huge part of it. What are you learning about right now to affect your journey of growth?
So I'm learning a lot of, technical pieces that I won't bore you with, but I always love learning. But I think my period of my life right now, I'm learning those important life lessons, or probably relearning things that your kindergarten teacher probably went over with you and tried to teach then. But basically the power of allowing other people in. So kind of with that perfection, I don't know why, but for much of my life, I thought I needed to know it all. In order to be the best principal, I had to know all the answers. Well, of course, that's impossible. And so I'm learning to lean on others. And it's just amazing. Today, for the very first time in my career, I called a think tank of young professionals in our company because I'm working on something, I'm stuck, and I needed young, fresh minds to help me get over the hurdle. And as is always the case, not only did I get over the hurdle, but I have a list of about 20 things I'm going to look into because they had so many other great ideas. So, I'm learning about the power of not just being in teams, I've always been in teams, but of truly listening and trusting to others and not having to know all the answers.
Great job.
Thanks.
So, what's next for you? And I heard a rumor that you are the current Mrs. Oktoberfest.
Perhaps.
So
yes.
where does Regina Siegel go from here?
Yeah. You know, Andy, I've heard you ask other folks this, and I don't know, but it's going to be a fun ride and a great journey. I'm a big believer in it's not about the destination, it's about the journey along the way. So whatever is next, it's going to involve building relationships with our community, building relationships with the colleagues and others that I work with, trying to bring a little more fun into my personality and into my life. And we have a new grandchild. So
congratulations.
Thank you. She's perfect. She's perfect. So really realizing in that balancing act of life that the biggest rocket booster for me is being with the people I love and serving others. So I love where I am, but if you would have asked me 30 years ago, what are you going to be doing in 30 years, I would have said, I'm going to be a teacher in that very same class that I was in when I first started. So I'm going to be doing fun stuff and learning a lot and being humble and letting, trying to make the world a little bit better and a little bit brighter. And having fun with Oktoberfest family. Prost.
That's fantastic. What kind of boat do you have?
Well, we have a couple, but like the jet ski,
you have a couple.
I'm a speed queen, so I love the jet ski. We have a three-person jet ski where I can pull people to. So if you want to water ski, I'm your girl. But the sheriff just we traded in our boat. He's got a new pontoon boat that is pretty fabulous and the lap of luxury. So that's what I'm going to be in most of the summer.
Well, Linda and I will see you guys on the river this summer for sure.
Great, terrific. Thanks.
Regina Siegel, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
So, my name is Andy Temte. This is the Balancing Act podcast. You can find us on all the major streaming services. Please like, subscribe, rate, and most importantly, share this public good with your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, whoever. Thank you so much.